The management and staff of HGP TV would like to express our sincere gratitude to our sponsor, Kentucky Fried Chicken, for their contribution to the airing of the HGP Year in Review. We wish you all a Happy New Year and a productive 2026.
This is the HGP Nightly News Year in Review. Welcome. Before we get into the serious side of things, it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge one simple truth. Most of us made it through 2025.
And what a year it was, a year so tumultuous that at times many of us check the date in our phones just to be sure we are still in the right timeline.
Indeed, on behalf of the entire HGP family, I'm Travis Chase.
And I'm ALETHEA Grant, wishing all of you, our viewers at home and abroad, a Happy New Year.
We're grateful you've chosen to spend part of your holiday season with us as we kick off HGP TV's annual Year in Review.
As we reflect on a very eventful year, we begin with an excerpt from President Irfaan Ali's 2025 New Year's message to the nation.
This year, my friends, is no ordinary year. As we step into 2025, we enter what is undoubtedly one of the most exhilarating and transformative periods in our nation's history. The promise of a better life for every Guyanese is no longer a distant dream. It is becoming an irreversible reality.
From that address, several key initiatives were outlined. Continued economic growth with significant expansion planned in both the oil and non-oil sectors, major infrastructure projects including the new Demerara and Wismar River bridges, social and financial support measures such as cash grants, minimum wage adjustments, and retroactive pay for public servants ahead of the 2025 general and regional elections, and the resumption of tuition-free education at the University of Guyana and technical and vocational institutions from January 2025.
An unprecedented moment followed in January when the Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, presented Guyana's largest national budget ever in Parliament. Antonio Day filed that report.
Budget 2025 is 20.6% greater than Budget 2024, totaling $1.382 trillion Guyana dollars.
That was Dr. Ashni Singh, Senior Minister with responsibility for finance, during his budget presentation on Friday in the National Assembly. Budget 2025 was presented on the theme, A Secure, Prosperous and Sustainable Guyana. According to Dr. Singh, this year's fiscal plan will stimulate economic growth.
Budget 2025 builds on this momentum, continuing our government's commitment to boost economic activity, promote production and productivity, create ample opportunities for income generation, and incentivize effort and hard work.
With this year's budget being the largest to date, sectors such as education is earmarked to receive a budgetary allocation of $175 billion. Last year, the sector received a budgetary allocation of $135.2 billion. Singh also announced the total receipts for public enterprises have witnessed a significant increase. The health sector is set to receive a budgetary allocation of $143.2 billion in 2025, an increase from $129.8 billion in 2024. On the public infrastructure, in excess of $233.3 billion was allocated for the development of roads, bridges, sea defense, and airports. This year, $23.1 billion will go towards the expansion of the water sector, while $112.6 billion will go towards the housing sector. On the agriculture sector, agro-processing received $800 million to support investments in value chain development, while $2.9 billion was allocated towards the development and expansion of other crops, followed by fisheries and aquaculture with $1.3 billion. $430.9 million was allocated to improve efficiency and productivity in the rice industry, while $88 billion was allocated towards energy expansion and diversification. To address solid waste management services, a sum of $13.2 billion was also allocated. Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, former Finance Minister Winston Jordan and opposition leader Aubrey Norton strongly criticized the $1.382 trillion budget, describing it as a disastrous and accusing the government of ignoring the struggles of the working class. Antonio Day reports.
This budget is a disaster. And its disaster is magnified because this is an election year.
That was former Minister of Finance Winston Jordan speaking on Nation Watch as he added his voice to a long list of critics following the presentation of the 2025 national budget. The $1.3 trillion budget, according to Jordan, clearly ignores the woes of the poor and working class citizens.
The long and short for the average person in the man in the street and so on, he don't want to hear all these fancy things about indices and prices and so on. What he is facing, right, food on the table, and what he is facing is a brutal set of price increases day in and day out.
Jordan, an economist and former budget director, noted that the government's $100,000 cash grant measure and an increase in the income tax threshold from $100,000 to $130,000 will fail to make a significant impact on the current level of poverty experienced by the ordinary Guyanese.
48% poverty cannot be solved by a one-off cash grant. 48% poverty cannot be solved by an increase in the threshold from $100,000 to $130,000.
This year, the government has allocated $9 billion to address the escalating cost of living. According to Jordan, the government has failed to provide a clear action plan to realistically address the continued high prices of goods and services faced by the Guyanese people on a daily basis. Jordan posited that Guyanese deserve better, and the government is in a position to meet the needs of citizens, but is reluctant to do so. Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
By February, following a week of consideration of estimates, the government used its one-seat majority in the National Assembly to pass the $1.382 trillion budget. We also reported on a High Court ruling involving residents of Mocha Arcadia. The acting Chief Justice ruled against residents seeking over $200 million in damages for homes demolished by the state. The court deemed the residents squatters and ordered them to pay $2 million in costs.
On Friday, Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George ruled against 6 displaced squatters from Caneview, Mocha, whose homes were bulldozed by the state in early 2023. The residents lost their bid for compensation and have instead been ordered to pay $2 million in cost to the respondents, the Attorney General, the Central Housing and Planning Authority, and the Guyana Sugar Corporation, Gaisuku.
If you are ever in doubt, clarifies for you, any squatter or potential squatter, what your legal status is.
He explained how the lands were owned by Gaisuku and later transferred to CHMPA, meaning they were never private properties belonging to any individual. The Attorney General further stated that squatters, through their own evidence, proved that they had engaged the government to regularize the area, which invalidated their claim of acquiring prescriptive rights.
If it is your property as you claim, and it is not the government's property or the state's property, why are you petitioning the state to regularize you?
He added that the lawyers representing the claimants made serious errors in their court filings, failing to take into account legal amendments that prohibits individuals from acquiring prescriptive titles to state lands.
The state was completely justified in taking steps to remove them and their buildings and erections from the state's land.
Nandlall stated that the government does not necessarily need a court order to remove squatters from state land, as the law allows for removal through self-help. He added that the squatters were served notices as far back as 2008, informing them that they needed to vacate the land as it was designated for the construction of a highway. Engagement with the residents continued in 2021, and even since more than 150 residents heeded the warning and accepted house lots and compensation to relocate. The government paid approximately $250 million in compensation to the squatters, provided them with title lands and housing, and assisted with their relocation. In delivering a ruling, the acting Chief Justice stated that the residents failed to provide evidence supporting their claims of ownership for lots 11 and 16 at Caneview. She pointed out that critical details such as clear survey data and detailed land descriptions were notably missing. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
February also brought color, culture, and a celebration as Guyanese from all walks of life converge on Visinjan Road for the annual Mashramani Float Parade marking Guyana's 55th Republic anniversary. Dacia Richards filed that report.
Thousands of Guyanese gathered on the streets of Georgetown for the 2025 Mashramani Float Parade. Nightly News spoke to patrons who were enjoying the celebrations.
Really nice, it's lovely to see all the people out in the road. A lot of foreigners experiencing Mash for the first time, so, it's always a great time in Guyana.
Lovely. As year go by, you improve a lot.
It's great right now, I'm enjoying myself out here with my crew. We're drinking, enjoying the vibe, man.
I think it is nice.
And what do you like about it?
I like how the people are dancing.
This year, the theme for Mashramani was expressing our culture and creativity as one Guyana. For HGP Nightly News, I am Dacia Richards.
In March, several newly erected lamp poles across Georgetown collapsed, triggering prolonged power outages. PPPC's General Secretary Barrett Jagdeo placed responsibility on the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated and related agencies, calling out shoddy workmanship.
Vice President Barrett Jagdeo has disassociated himself from shoddy works that falls under the purview of the Ministry of Public Works, headed by Ministers Wang Ejil and Deodat Indar. In response to questions from reporters during his weekly press conference on Thursday about the collapse of concrete posts in front of the recently rehabilitated Cliff Anderson Sports Hall, almost crushing some cars and infrastructure, Jagdeo has advised the media to hold the government officials responsible.
You should catch Edgehill and Indar a bit more and ask them about these, and GPL, because ask them about the protocol, because I've been pushing for them to get it. It's irksome. It's when I see the
Jagdeo's stance to not take blame for any shortcomings by his government began on Tuesday at the Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo, when he scolded Minister of Public Works Wang Ejil and his ministry for poor management of ongoing roadworks along the East Bank Demerara corridor. According to the Vice President, politicians like himself are the ones who always face the heat, but the individuals who work at these agencies are really the technical personnel responsible for managing and addressing such issues.
If you corner the agencies, put them on the spot too. Some of the GPL and the others, call them and ask them how you were installing posts that are falling down.
This is not the first time concrete poles have collapsed. Last month, thousands of residents in the Southern Belt area were forced to endure a 24-hour power outage after a number of newly erected concrete poles collapsed along Aubrey-Barker Road. This is Shervin Belgrave reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
When we return, more of the stories that shaped 2025.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of the crunch. At KFC, it's your flavor, your way. No rules, no limits. Just pure crunch. So go ahead, get whatever the crunch you want. Head to your nearest KFC today. KFC is finger-licking good.
Welcome back. In March, escalating tensions between Guyana and Venezuela dominated headlines.
A Venezuelan military vessel entered Guyana's territorial waters, an action the Irfan Ali-led government condemned as a serious incursion.
Head of State Dr. Irfan Ali, in a national address on Saturday, said the situation is serious and reaffirmed Guyana's sovereignty over its maritime territory. The vessel, identified as a Venezuelan Coast Guard ship, was spotted near all ships operating in Guyana's exclusive economic zone, EEZ. The government has since alerted international partners, expressing concern over this latest development.
The Venezuelan armed patrol ship entered Guyana's waters. During this incursion, the Venezuelan vessel approached various assets in our exclusive waters, including FPSO Prosperity.
The president emphasized that FPSO Prosperity and other assets are lawfully operating within Guyana's EEZ in accordance with international law.
The patrol vessel transmitted a radio message declaring that the FPSO was operating in what it termed disputed international waters, before continuing its course in a southwesterly direction toward other FPSOs. Let me be unequivocal. Guyana's maritime boundaries are recognized under international law, and this incursion is a matter of grave concern.
Guyana has already deployed air and naval assets to monitor its exclusive economic zone. Despite the gravity of the situation, the president assured the nation that the government is handling the matter with the necessary caution and responsibility.
We have reached out to all our international partners, and all our international partners have responded positively. These include the UK, France, the USS, RSS, CARICOM, and we continue to work with other neighbors, Brazil, at the military level and at the level of the state.
President Ali further stated that the government of Guyana has informed the CARICOM chair, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, as well as other international allies. He confirmed that Prime Minister Mottley has already begun engaging with the Venezuelan government on the issue. The president also met with opposition leader Aubrey Norton and a delegation who discussed the issue. Meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has also summoned Venezuelan ambassador to formally register Guyana's objection to the military incursion. The incursion has drawn swift condemnation from international bodies, including the United States, CARICOM, and the Organization of American States, OAS. In a statement, the U.S. government, through its Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs, called Venezuela's actions a clear violation of Guyana's internationally recognized maritime borders. It further warned that any further provocation could lead to consequences for the Maduro regime, reaffirming its support for Guyana's territorial integrity and the 1899 Arbitral Award. Tiana Ko reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana Nicole Ferrier expressed deep concern, reaffirming full U.S. support to Guyana's sovereignty. Tiana Cole reports.
Following the recent incursion of a Venezuelan military vessel into Guyana's maritime territory, U.S. Ambassador to Guyana Nicole Ferrier said the United States will continue to stand with Guyana amid continued threats from Venezuela.
Clearly, we support Guyana 100% against this aggression. That's unacceptable. And we won't allow Venezuela to threaten Guyana's territory and sovereignty. And so we are standing with many other international partners.
The ambassador assured that Guyana can always count on the U.S. support.
We will always stand shoulder to shoulder with Guyana in supporting you and defending you.
On March 1, a vessel identified as a Venezuelan Coast Guard ship was spotted near all ships operating in Guyana's exclusive economic zone. That followed an announcement that Venezuela is planning to hold elections in Guyana's Essequibo region, an integral part of Guyana's national territory. The government has since alerted international partners expressing concern over this latest development. It has also informed the international community of Venezuela's latest actions. On Wednesday, Minister of Home Affairs Robertson Benz stated that any Guyanese or resident who supports Venezuela's planned election for a so-called governor of Essequibo will face severe consequences.
They're going to be charged for treason. And anybody who is supporting them will also be charged. The issue of Essequibo and the settlement, the 1899 arbitral award, was settled a long time ago, and they had no interest in it until they had political problems there, and then when we found the isle.
Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Still in March, a sanctioned businessman Azruddin Mohammed and his father Nizar Mohammed broke a 9-month silence following U.S. Treasury sanctions.
They accused the government of victimization and misrepresentation. Daisy Richards filed that report.
After remaining silent following sanctions from the United States last year, businessman Nizar Mohammed spoke out on Tuesday. The businessman has since pointed fingers at the governing People's Progressive Party Civic, PPPC, accusing the party of hostility and deliberately misinterpreting the facts.
Myself and my son and our companies cannot do business with American citizens and American companies.
He claims that Guyana Daily News and the Guyanese critics are arms of the government, and he knows for a fact that persons associated with the incumbent administration are losing their American visas. Mr. Mohammed said he has been working with the PPPC all his life and is grappling to understand the treatment meted out to him, his businesses, and family members.
I knew all the political leaders in our country. I was very close to Dr. Jagan. I worked hard to restore him in power in 1992. Those who are still old enough can substantiate that. So I just don't understand where this hostility towards us is coming from.
He added that their businesses has been placed under tremendous pressure since the sanction was announced.
I can do whatever business I want to do in my country. No one can stop me from doing any business in our country.
He highlighted that quarry and mining operations have been disrupted while their cambio license revoked without a fair hearing or justification. He is also fearful that there might be an assassination attempt on his son's life. The U.S. in June of 2024 accused the Mohammeds of allegedly evading U.S. $50 million in taxes to the Guyana Revenue Authority by omitting more than 10,000 kilograms of gold from import and export declarations between 2019 and 2023. For HGP Nightly News, I am Daisy Richards.
April was marked by national grief following the death of 11-year-old Adriana Young.
Her body was found in a hotel pool under circumstances that sparked nationwide protests.
The body of 11-year-old Adriana Young was retrieved from the pool of the Doubleday Hotel at Tushin on the east bank of Essequibo Thursday afternoon. The family of the young girl reported her missing on Wednesday afternoon after swimming at the hotel with relatives. A police report was filed, and the family demanded searches be done of the hotel property. Authorities have confirmed that the 11-year-old girl's body bore visible marks of violence. A relative of the dead child said that the actions of the police and hotel staff were suspicious from the beginning of this ordeal.
The crazy part is that this child didn't have a time of 3 hours or 4 hours. They were swimming in this pool, and all of a sudden she went missing. They touched down here 1:10, and by the time 1:45, 10 minutes to 2, this child vanished, and nobody can give an accountability for this child.
In an initial statement, the Guyana Police Force claimed that Young was captured on CCTV camera going into a car. Investigators claimed that the owner told them he had rented the car to a man. However, that statement has since been determined to be a blatant lie by the Guyana Police Force after the girl's body was found in the hotel's pool.
And there is no surveillance footage to support what transpired in the building. And the only surveillance footage that was available, that was received from across there, was divulged to the parents and the CID, in the presence of the CID, that showed that the child didn't make any exit.
Young's body was retrieved from the pool of the hotel by her father, who spoke with Nightly News in tears.
And I jump over the fence, and I run, and I plunge in that pool. Look, my pants is wet up to now, my brief, everything wet. When everybody start watching me, daughter, I see my one, hold me, daughter, like they say. I push her the pool. Yeah, I tell you, so no, in the had 4 or 5 staff inside here. And more than that. Yeah, telling you, because I stand up the whole night, I see people inside the whole night in activities, people moving.
President Irfan Ali announced that a special investigation will be conducted into the girl's death. An independent pathologist is scheduled to arrive in the country Thursday evening. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. HGP Nightly News later provided exclusive coverage from the United States following a second autopsy. It would be problematic to say that 11-year-old Adriana Young died by drowning. That's the view of Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Carol Terry of the Gwinnett County Examiner's Office and Morgue in Georgia, United States of America. Dr. Terry, who conducted the second autopsy on Adriana Young, spoke with Nightly News. The first autopsy ruled that Adriana Young drowned. Would you come to that conclusion?
At this point in time, I would not come to that conclusion. I think that there's a lot of information that needs to be gained, a lot of investigation that needs to be done.
The first autopsy, which was completed just over 3 weeks ago in Guyana by 3 foreign pathologists, including the chief medical examiner of the U.S. state of Delaware, concluded that Adriana Young died by drowning.
Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion, and by that, it means that you have to exclude other potential causes of death. And oftentimes, when a body is found in water, the assumption is that the person has drowned. There is nothing at autopsy that is diagnostic of drowning. So again, that's what I mean by saying drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion.
Additionally, the toxicology results, according to the Guyana Police Force, showed ethanol levels consistent with post-mortem decomposition, and there was no evidence of any type of sexual assault. Dr. Terry said she also found no sign of trauma. And did you find any evidence of trauma?
No, I did not.
However, according to Dr. Terry, samples were retrieved from the body for further testing and to complete her report.
I think I overcollected things, but again, I don't get a second chance to go back and be thorough. So those are the things that I was mindful of in the course of doing this examination.
Dr. Terry said that based on the previous post-mortem examination, as well as embalming, the body would have lost some forensic value. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
We'll have more of the defining stories of 2025 when we return.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of the crunch. At KFC, it's your flavor, your way. No rules, no limits. Just pure crunch. So go ahead, get whatever the crunch you want. Head to your nearest KFC today. KFC is finger-licking good.
Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News Year in Review. We now move to May. On the 15th of that month, HGP Nightly News reported that members of the Guyana Defense Force came under fire while conducting routine patrols along the Cayuni River near the Venezuela border.
The incident heightened the national concerns about security in the contested border region. Tiana Cole filed that report.
Serving members of the Guyana Defense Force, GDF, came under fire on Tuesday and Wednesday while conducting patrols in the Cayuni River near the border with Venezuela. In a statement early Thursday, the GDF reported 3 separate attacks within a 24-hour period. Fortunately, no Guyanese soldiers were injured. The attacks were reportedly carried out by armed men in civilian clothing on the Venezuelan side of the border. According to the GDF, its ranks executed a measured response on each occasion when they came under gunfire between Eterimbang and Macapa. The force emphasized its commitment to protecting Guyana's territorial integrity and the safety of its citizens. It stated that regular patrols along the Cayuni River will continue in response to these acts of aggression. The public was assured that all necessary steps are being taken to safeguard the nation's borders and maintain internal peace and security. 3 months ago, GDF soldiers were injured in a similar incident in the Cuyuni region after coming under fire from suspected Venezuelan gunmen. Last Monday, President Irfan Ali reassured citizens that the nation's borders remain secure.
To all the citizens of Guyana and those who are living in the territory of Guyana, you have nothing to fear. You're living in what is our sovereign space, and we're going to protect and ensure that our sovereign space is respected by all.
Tianako reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
The attack drew widespread condemnation across the political divide, with opposition parties and civil society voicing support for Guyana's defense forces and the country's territorial sovereignty.
Later in May, on the 26th, President Irfan Ali announced at a political rally that Guyanese would head to the polls on September 1, 2025.
That announcement officially set the country on the path towards general and regional elections. Here is that report.
The 1st of September 2025 as the date for national and regional elections. Let me be clear, the 1st of September 2025 as the date for national and regional elections.
That was Head of State President Irfan Ali. According to discussions with the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, the Guyanese head of state declared that the organization is prepared for the election process. He disclosed this during his presidential speech commemorating Guyana's 59th anniversary of independence. This year, the anniversary celebrations were held in Berbice. The president further stated that the proclamation for the dissolution of Parliament will be issued shortly.
And in keeping with the Constitution, soon I will issue the proclamation dissolving the Parliament.
Since this year is an election year, the head of state stated that his administration will make sure that the voting process is free and fair. He also urged Guyanese to remain unified in this season and to avoid strife and discord by all means.
As we mark 59 years of independence, let us lift our eyes to the horizon. Let us join hands across regions and religions, across language and lineages, and let us move forward, not as 6 people, but as one people.
According to General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Civic Bar Jagdio, his party has always stood for democracy, social justice, economic growth, and national unity. In a press statement in response to the announcement of elections, Jagdio said his commitment remains unshaken, and I quote, "We will continue working to build a Guyana where every citizen, young and old of every race, gender, and religion, has the opportunity for a progressive and prosperous life." End of quote. I'm Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
In June, political developments continued with the official launch of the We Invest in Nationhood, or WIN party.
Businessman Azruddin Mohammed was introduced as the party's presidential candidate, promising to use Guyana's resources for the benefit of all Guyanese. Here are the details. WIN, We Invest in Nationhood, a political party with its presidential candidate as billionaire businessman Azruddin Mohammed, has been officially launched. The presidential hopeful, who has been a thorn in the side of the People's Progressive Party Civic, has promised the Guyanese people that his party, once elected into government, will invest in its people and the different sectors.
We invest in progress, in real solutions, not slogans, in our people, in you, because that's how a nation wins. We chose this name because it is a direct promise of what we stand for, unity, because for too long, the old politics has sought to divide us along lines of race and social standing.
The presidential hopeful said that his party has a place for everyone to help build Guyana.
We believe our diversity is our greatest strength, and we will build a Guyana where every single citizen feels they belong whether or not they support our party. They will still benefit because true leadership should serve everyone.
The WIN party was launched with an official video on the businessman's Facebook page. The presidential hopeful addressed the issue of his party's symbol, which received objections from some government quarters.
Our symbol represents everything your government will be for you. It stands for speed and action because we will move decisively to solve the problems that have held you back for too long. It stands for focus because we will be laser focused on your progress, never distracted by the old politics of division.
Azreddin made an appeal to young people, promising that their voices will be heard.
To every young person, this is your moment. Your voice will not be used, it will be heard. To our Guyanese diaspora, this is your home, and your investing in Guyana will not be in vain. We are building bridges, not borders.
Guyanese will go to the polls on September 1, with nomination day set for July 14, 2025. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. On July 4, President Irfan Ali issued a proclamation dissolving Parliament and all regional democratic organs in preparation for the upcoming elections.
The move formally brought an end to the parliamentary term and triggered full elections across the country. Here's that story.
By way of proclamation, Guyana's head of state, Irfan Ali, brought an end to parliamentary business and has paved the way for the September 1 general and regional elections. The proclamation was signed Thursday.
I have signed this afternoon Proclamation Number 1 of 2025, dissolving the 12th Parliament of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Additionally, the proclamation will also dissolve the regional democratic councils in accordance with Article 73(2) of the Constitution.
I've also signed a proclamation dissolving the regional democratic councils. The proclamations also designate the 1st September 2025 as the date on which general and regional elections shall be held in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
As political parties prepare for nomination day on July 14, President Ali urged all Guyanese to participate fully in the elections process.
I urge all eligible Guyanese to participate in the upcoming elections, and in so doing, be part of this critical decision-making process of the state. The task of administering the forthcoming elections rests with the Guyana Elections Commission, and I remain confident in its ability to hold free, fair, and credible elections.
Once Parliament is dissolved, parliamentary business such as bills, motions, inquiries, and committee reports must come to an end. In addition, parliamentarians cease to be members of all standing, special, and joint committees. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. In August, we reported that the People's Progressive Party Civic conducted major business dealings with a Chinese company that has been under U.S. sanctions since 2019 and 2020.
Despite concerns raised, the government maintained that it was not troubled by the implications of the arrangement. More details in this report.
The Irfan Ali-led administration seemed not to be bothered by the fact that they are still conducting multi-billion-dollar business deals with United States-sanctioned China Railway Construction Corporation. General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party Civic and the country's sitting Vice President Barra Jagdeo is quoted in another section of the press as saying that, no, Guyana has nothing to worry about. However, for the past year, the very Vice President and President Irfan Ali have been hammering home the point about doing business with individuals and companies sanctioned by the United States of America. China Railway Construction Corporation Limited was sanctioned by the World Bank in 2019 for fraud and corruption. Also, as seen on this document, in November 2020, President Donald Trump issued an executive order prohibiting any American company or individual from owning shares in companies that the United States Department of Defense has listed as having links to the People's Liberation Army, which included China Railway Construction Corporation. China Railway Construction Corporation is OFAC sanctioned. In Guyana, the government went ahead and signed major deals with the sanctioned company, mega projects such as the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, the proposed Berbice and Quarantine River bridges, as well as a section of the electricity transmission distribution upgrade. The Guyana government wants its citizens to believe that the sanctions imposed on China railway constructions are totally different from sanctions imposed on others in Guyana. For the United States, it continues to remind non-U.S. companies of requirements to comply with U.S. sanctions and export controls. Several Chinese companies are currently leading a number of projects in Guyana. These include the extension of the second phase of the East Coast Demerara Road project, the building of the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, Jovera Park, and the construction of 6 regional hospitals. The U.S. Defense Department in 2019 released a list of 20 companies, including CRCC, allegedly owned or controlled by the Chinese military or People's Liberation Army. The list was mandated by a 1999 law which gives the president the option of imposing the International Emergency Economic Powers Act penalties against listed firms. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
You're watching HGP TV's Year in Review. More of the stories that shaped 2025 when we return.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of the crunch. At KFC, it's your flavor, your way. No rules, no limits. Just pure crunch. So go ahead, get whatever the crunch you want. Head to your nearest KFC today. KFC is finger-licking good.
Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News Year in Review. September opened with wall-to-wall election coverage.
On polling day, President Irfan Ali, opposition leader Aubrey Norton, and leaders of other political parties were seen casting their ballots. Here is more.
Monday, September 1, 2025 is a consequential period in Guyana's history, as approximately 750,000 citizens exercised their democratic right of voting to elect the country's next government. Although he was successful in exercising his democratic right to vote, Mr. Aubrey Norton, presidential candidate of the Partnership for National Unity, was in protest of some anomalies which he discovered at the polling booth.
I'm going to ask our chief scrutineer to send out a general notice to say to people they should stop their voting if they cannot see the person. Because you could tell me the person put his cell phone there, the person has put cell phone. So that is the first. Outside of that, it looks normal.
By standard, polling booths must allow voters to mark their ballots in secrecy, ensuring that no one can see how a vote is cast. Booths must be enclosed or shielded, often using partitions or screens. Each polling station is equipped with multiple booths, depending on the number of registered voters assigned to that location. Nightly News visited other sections of the East Coast, and voters were trickling in at polling stations such as Lebon Intention Primary, Lusignan Primary, Eastville Nursery, and Friendship Primary. So behind me is the Lebon Intention Primary School, where persons exercise their democratic right. As you know, it's a consequential period in Guyana's history where parties are vying for the next government.
Yeah, the process was very smooth. You just get your ID, check your name outside, go inside, check your she sends you to its door. A few people was there, you just go, check your name on the list, you get not all the vote, check your finger the ink, and you got voted. Very smooth, very smooth.
Up and down, when you say that, what do you mean?
They have like 3 different doors. Yeah, like 3 different.
It's verifying your information, but apart from the process was good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Just watching, go through the process, voting, or pumping, voting. Thank you.
It looks like a ton of voting.
Second voting. How do you feel about that?
I feel normal.
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 Good. So you had no problems, nothing?
No problem. Okay.
Process was smooth, easy. Makes it easy for every citizen to come out and exercise their democratic right.
I heard some persons complain about the booth was too big and you can't see.
And you can't see about
Yes.
Yeah.
So everything was in place, and like I said, the process was smooth.
Meanwhile, one voter lamented that the process was, in her view, disorganized.
I couldn't identify my polling station. I was like from one to the next, even though your name is on the list. The last time I voted was at the polling station I went to. This time it moved, and it's ridiculous. 6
political parties competed for the electoral seat in governance. The votes of the electorate will determine Guyana's next president, prime minister, and vice president. I'm Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News from the Friendship Primary School.
Meanwhile, CARICOM election observers raised concerns about the voters' list and accessibility at some polling stations, even as they praised transparency reforms introduced by GCOM. Here's that story.
At a press conference on Tuesday, Chief of Missions Josephine Tamai, who also serves as Belize's Chief Elections Officer, said the observation team found that the names of the deceased persons were still on the list, despite earlier efforts to have them removed. She warned that this raises questions about the list's accuracy and suggested that Guyana may need to consider a full re-registration exercise or intensify work to eliminate ineligible names. Tamai also noted that several polling stations were located on upper floors, making it difficult for elderly and persons living with disabilities to access their right to cast a ballot with ease.
COM also observed that some polling stations were not located on the ground floor. This presented a challenge for elderly and disabled voters, which is an important consideration for future planning.
Despite these concerns, the Caribbean Community Election Observer Mission commended GCOM for its new rules requiring electronic transmission and public display of statements of poll.
The COM commends GCOM on the legal amendments made to enhance the integrity of the tabulation process, particularly the provision for electronic transmission and the public display of statement of polls for verification.
As results continue to be tabulated, Tamai urged Guyanese to remain calm and patient, stressing that the will of the people must be respected. The Observer Mission will present its final report with detailed findings and recommendation to the CARICOM Secretariat General in the coming weeks. Javon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
On September 4, Win Party leader Azruddin Mohammed declared that the elections were neither free nor fair, accusing the ruling PPPC of electoral rigging. Here is more. Businessman and leader of the We Invest in Nationhood Party, Azruddin Mohammed, is alleging voting irregularities in Monday's election. The 90-day-old movement, which says it has shaken the pillars of Guyana's political establishment, alleges numerous and credible reports of great irregularities in the conduct of the 2025 elections.
Reports of statements of poll going missing, tampering with ballot boxes, and wholesale victimization have reached us from across the nation. We have also been made aware of the voting by Bangladeshis, Indians, and Venezuelans, even though they do not reside in Guyana.
The Win leader accused the People's Progressive Party civic government of using resources for campaigning, something he says international observers have taken note of.
And has made efforts to buy votes with land, steel, sand, stone, and cash, ranging from 500,000 to 800,000. In our Amerindian communities, we have seen cases of vote purchasing, threatening and harassment of our indigenous brethren and sisters.
While a recount of the votes for Sub-District 4 got underway Thursday morning, the Guyana Elections Commission has blatantly refused Win's request for a Region 8 recount.
Let us be blunt. These elections were neither free nor fair. Numerically and politically, it is impossible for the PPP to have won in Region 4, where they have little or no serious support.
Voter turnout at the 2025 general and regional elections was lower by about 37,000 votes than in the 2020 contest. The Guyana Elections Commission, up to the time of this report, was yet to make an official declaration. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Following recount requests and denials, President Irfaan Ali was sworn in on September 7 at the State House.
President Mohamed Irfaan Ali was on Sunday sworn in as Guyana's 9th executive president for a second term, following his party's electoral win. In his address, he vowed to serve all Guyanese and lead with inclusion. In his inaugural remarks, President Ali thanked citizens who voted on September 1, 2025, and pledged that the path to prosperity would move at a faster pace under his leadership.
I am not the president of some Guyanese. I'm the president of all Guyana. That principle has guided me and the government over the last 5 years, 2020 to 2025, and it shall remain my compass in the years ahead. And it is only together as a people, united in vision and purpose, that we can achieve the progress our nation deserves. This is why I stand prepared to join hands with all who cherish peace, uphold democracy, and care deeply for our nation.
Looking ahead, President Ali announced that his second term will be marked by a national crusade against poverty.
Not just the visible poverty in our streets, but the structural roots and hidden burdens that keep families from rising. We'll fight it, reduce it, and ultimately eradicate it.
He further pledged to expand home ownership, strengthen financial inclusion, and ensure small entrepreneurs have the resources needed to succeed. To achieve this, he noted the importance of building a strong leadership team.
In the coming days,
GCOM confirmed that the PPPC secured 36 seats in the 65-member National Assembly. Meanwhile, the We Invest the Nation Would Win party gained 16 seats. This placing the PNC-led a Partnership for National Unity, APNU, which secured 12 seats as the main parliamentary opposition. Tiana Ko reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
On September 15, the President's 25 members of Cabinet officially took the oath of office.
October was dominated by developments involving Azruddin and Nazar Mohammed.
Both men were indicted by a U.S. grand jury in Miami on multiple charges, including allegations of bribery involving Guyanese officials.
That story dominated headlines for weeks.
Following their sanctions by the United States Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, a United States grand jury on October 2 indicted leader of the We Invest in Nationhood Party, Azruddin Mohammed, and his father, Nazar Mohammed. The United States Florida Southern District Court indicted the businessman and his father on 4 counts of gold shipment that was seized in Miami in 2024. The United States wants the father and son on charges of wire and mail fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering, stemming from tax evasion on gold exports and the importation of a Lamborghini luxury car. According to the United States, if found guilty on the charges, they're facing no less than 20 years behind bars. The indictment disclosed that a shipment containing approximately 5.3 million US in gold bars shipped from Guyana by Mohammed's enterprise was seized at Miami International Airport on June 11, 2024. The U.S. is also asking the court that, quote, upon conviction, as alleged in this indictment, the defendants shall forfeit to the United States any property, real or personal, which constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to such offense. The U.S. accuses the Mohammeds of reusing empty boxes with intact Guyana Revenue Authority and Guyana Gold Board seals for shipments of gold to make it appear that Mohammed's enterprise had paid Guyana taxes and royalties on shipments of gold, when in truth and in fact, Mohammed's enterprise had not paid them on those shipments of gold. The grand jury also accuses the Mohammeds of paying bribes to several Guyanese government officials to facilitate shipments. On June 11, 2024, the United States Department of the Treasury imposed sanctions on Mohammed and his father Nazar Mohammed over gold smuggling. PPPC's May Thomas was also sanctioned for corruption. An indictment is an accusation in writing found and presented by a grand jury, legally sworn to the court in which it is empaneled. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. Infrastructure also took center stage in October with the commissioning of the new Demerara River Bridge.
Thousands of Guyanese gathered to witness the historic opening. Marvin Cato filed that report.
I thank you for your steadfast commitment. And I know how hard you work. All night, Patrick, all morning. But today, we can celebrate together.
That was President Irfan Ali giving the featured address at the commissioning of the new Demerara River Bridge. There were video presentations showing the final pour and other aspects of the construction milestone, and a fanciful cultural presentation to mark the commemoration. The government pulled out all the stops in showcasing their legacy project. Meanwhile, Chinese ambassador of Guyana, Yang Yang, praised Guyana on this achievement.
On this momentous occasion, I wish to extend the warmest congratulations to the government of Guyana for the unwavering commitment to advancing national development.
The contracting construction company, even though faced with many challenges, an accidental death of a worker being a severe blow, they were proud of their achievement.
On behalf of my company, my sincere congratulations to Guyana, and thank you to everyone who made this achievement possible.
Project Consultants Polytechnic was tasked with ensuring international standards were met, and the people of Guyana received value for money spent.
Polytechnica served with dedication as the supervisory engineer for the government of Guyana on this project. We worked as one team in respectful and fruitful collaboration with the contractors.
The new name for the Damara River Bridge was then revealed by the president at the end of the ceremony, the bridge now having the name of former president and sitting vice president Barrett Jagdeo. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
The bridge was later officially named the Barrett Jagdeo Demerara River Bridge.
Toward the end of October, national security concerns surged following a deadly explosion at a gas station on Regent Street.
The incident, which claimed the life of a 6-year-old girl, was classified as an act of terrorism.
7 individuals were charged and remain in custody awaiting trial. In its latest update on the Regent Street fuel station explosion, the Guyana Police Force announced the arrest of the main suspect in the gas station bombing. The police gave his name as Daniel Alexander Ramirez Pedonmo. He was arrested at the Virgin Nugent Sideline Dam on the east bank of Essequibo Tuesday afternoon. 3 other individuals, including a male Venezuelan national, were taken into custody Monday afternoon. Nightly News understands that the arrest came following a coordinated police operation. Acting on intelligence and CCTV footage, investigators also intercepted a silver motor car believed to have been used to transport one of the suspects. Police on Tuesday morning reported that they also recovered clothing believed to have been worn by the suspect when he allegedly planted the explosives at the mobile gas station. The items were discovered at a location in Region 3, where investigators also conducted several searches. Nightly News has been informed that a team of police ranks has since descended on Region 3 as part of an expanded investigation. The tragic explosion occurred on Sunday, October 26, 2025, at the mobile fuel station at Regent and King Streets, Georgetown, claiming the life of 6-year-old Soraya Bourne and leaving 4 others seriously injured. Authorities are urging anyone with information on the explosion or others who may be involved to contact the nearest police station or call 911. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Months after the elections, the European Union Election Observer Mission released its final report, offering a scathing assessment and outlining serious areas for reform. Tiana Cole reported.
The European Union Election Observer Mission on Tuesday delivered its final report on Guyana's September 1, 2025 general and regional elections. During a press conference, member of the European Parliament and Chief Observer Robert Bidron said elections were peaceful and well run, with voting and tabulation carried out efficiently and voters able to cast ballots in an orderly environment. However, he noted that the polls unfolded amid deep political polarization and lingering mistrust from the 2020 elections, alongside heightened national expectations tied to increasing oil revenues.
GCOM managed the operational aspects of the elections efficiently. At the same time, its structure and decision-making remained exposed to its political divisions.
Bidron stressed that there was not always a level playing field during the campaign, which was affected by what observers describe as advantages of incumbency.
We noted that government inaugurated a large number of public projects, during the campaign, while state media and government-run social media channels were also used to amplify campaign messages.
He further explained that campaign financing remains under-regulated, resulting in a lack of transparency and accountability. The chief observer added that while Guyana has a vibrant media landscape, it remains highly polarized, with state-run and most private media strongly favoring the ruling PPPC, limiting voter access to balanced information. A few independent outlets, he said, maintained impartial coverage. The mission also presented 18 overall recommendations, including 6 priority reforms. First, enhancing prospects for key electoral reform by ensuring necessary electoral expertise within a fully functional Constitutional Reform Commission. Second, updating the voter list using the most recent population data and linking it to ongoing digitization initiatives. Third, adopting clear and comprehensive campaign rules governing public officials and the use of state resources to prevent undue incumbency advantages. Fourth, strengthening campaign finance oversight through an independent monitoring body and updating outdated legal provisions, including spending limits. Fifth, establishing equitable media campaign coverage rules, including fair airtime, space, and political advertising guidelines. And sixth, implementing the Data Protection Act and establishing a publicly accountable data protection office to protect voters' personal data from misuse. Tiana Ko reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
The report was strongly rejected by President Irfan Ali, who publicly denounced its findings. Marvin Cato filed that report.
The reports speak about uneven playing field and undue advantage by incumbency, which I find ridiculous, to say the least.
That was President Irfan Ali, who was visibly upset at the fact that the EU Observer Mission report on elections 2025 pointed to the fact that the incumbency had an unfair advantage in the recently concluded election.
This comment is not based on any facts. It is based primarily on complaints by political participants in the elections.
The president accused the mission of being infiltrated by persons with an agenda and who has ties to the opposition.
It is important in report writing for us to understand who is writing the reports and who is influencing the reports.
Clearly not jet-lagged from his trip to Jamaica, the president swung from the hills in his disparaging of the EU Observer Mission report.
To adhere to international best practices in the hiring of local staff. If you go through some of the staff that were hired in this process by the EU, you would have to question those persons' independence because they're associated with or are in association with persons who would have expressed partisan positions.
When it came to the matter of evidence of the incumbent's use of state resources for partisan party purposes, though the EU team highlighted in its report the use of state vehicles in indigenous regions, the president just stopped short of saying that's a lie.
We made it very clear that in any system, there are disadvantages to incumbency and advantages to incumbency.
The EU report, though commending EDE activities, blasted the entirety of the election process, pointing to the fact that there were domination and control in almost every aspect of the electoral process by the incumbent. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
As the year drew to a close, we broke a major investigative story out of Canada. This story is about Canadian investigators uncovering a suspected Guyanese luxury car duty evasion ring. Investigators are in possession of a damning audio recording that could be the smoking gun needed for a breakthrough in unraveling a criminal network and its origins. Canadian authorities appear to be closing in on what may be a massive transnational luxury car duty evasion ring with roots in Guyana, following the discovery of explosive audio recordings believed to feature a prominent Guyanese car dealer giving detailed instructions on how to illegally alter vehicles before shipment to Guyana. According to sources close to the investigation, the recordings capture a Guyanese high-end auto importer in talks on how to retag or revin luxury vehicles before they are sent to Georgetown.
So I would have to tell you, okay, what to ship the vehicle as. Remember, you retagging the vehicle, so I can just tell you, okay, what to ship the vehicle as. I could get all of these vehicles sold. What is this guy named Lee? You know Lee. So all the vehicles that want Lee them sent to Guyana, all I clear, all I dealt with. All the vehicles were Ansar sent previously, I clear and dealt with. Who else I used to get vehicles by?
Retagging, investigators say, is the illegal practice of altering a vehicle's VIN or engine classification to disguise it as a lower engine model. This deception allows importers to evade billions of dollars in taxes and duties, depriving the Guyanese state of significant revenue while flooding the streets with high-end cars at suspiciously low import values. The Guyanese importer also reveals bold claims of corruption. In an audio file obtained by Nightly News, the Guyanese importer speaks confidently and without hesitation, bragging that he has customs on lock in Guyana and that nobody checks anything. He repeatedly assures the exporter that paperwork is irrelevant, customs inspections are non-issues, and that shipments would be smooth because he allegedly has key connections in place.
Yeah, I got people here the control, and I got the entire Guyana good. You have no issues in Guyana. These ports, once you can give me good prices at the port, once it doesn't matter if Guyana don't have market for port, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is, honestly. It can be a Chinese vehicle now. Once the price is right, anything would sell.
At one point in the recording, the auto dealer claims he already has 2 duty-free arrangements lined up for expensive vehicles he wants sent, an apparent reference to fraudulent access to duty exemptions intended for legitimate beneficiaries.
I could tell you, okay, what to retag the Ford as and what to ship it as. And then we can take it from there. The range, I can sell the range fast for you in Guyana, fast. Either retag that range and send it as a 2-liter. You know, the Range Rover Sports come 2-liter, you retag it and you sell it as a 2-liter. So when they punch in the VIN here, a 2-liter engine come up. Or you can send it as a Villar, or you can send it as a Range Rover Evoque. It doesn't matter. Once it's Range Rover, you can send it to anyone. Don't worry, customs checking our vehicles and them. I can do all of that.
In one of the more telling portions of the recording, the man declared he does not do business in the United States, saying he doesn't like to mess with the US. Instead, he boasts that he feels safe operating through Canada and the Caribbean. A detailed Canadian investigators reportedly found significant given the country's increasingly strict vehicle export monitoring systems. The recording could expose what law enforcement officials suspect is a long-running, well-coordinated luxury car smuggling and duty evasion network, potentially involving both local and overseas players. Such a scheme could help explain the surge of ultra-luxury vehicles entering Guyana under questionable declarations, often listed with improbably low values or reduced engine capacities. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
In an update on the luxury vehicle scandal, several high-level staff of the Guyana Revenue Authority have been arrested and remain in custody as a local probe into billions of dollars of tax evasion is underway. Nightly News broke this story, and we have been keeping track on the investigation. Travis Chase, as usual, is on that story.
A major corruption probe under Operation Project Myra has led to the arrest of at least 8 employees of the Guyana Revenue Authority, as investigators close in on what senior officials believe is entrenched collusion within the country's tax and customs system. The arrest formed part of an expanding investigation into the alleged large-scale under-declaration of imported motor vehicles and the evasion of millions of dollars in taxes and duties. Sources close to the investigation have described the collusion as coordinated misconduct involving multiple sections of the revenue agency. Demeraraways.com quoted a senior functionary as saying that preliminary findings suggest collaboration between custom officers and licensed revenue officers, raising serious red flags about internal controls, oversight failures, and abuse of authority within the agency. According to the source, the vehicles now under investigation were imported by the well-known importing agency BM SOT, which has again emerged as a central focus of the probe. Investigators are still working to determine the full extent of the alleged tax losses linked to under-declarations and false documentation. Earlier this year, BM SOT paid more than $220 million to the Guyana Revenue Authority in relation to declarations that were allegedly false. Despite that payment, the company remains of key interest, particularly as it continues to face pending court matters, the GRA source revealed. Operation Project Myra has already sent shockwaves through the revenue and law enforcement landscape, with multiple arrests and deepening investigations, signaling a sustained crackdown on corruption, fraud, and organized collusion within the vehicle importation sector. Authorities have indicated that additional arrests are possible as local investigators continue to work alongside international partners, including the FBI, Canada Border Services Agency, the U.S. Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the U.S. Embassy in Guyana to dismantle what is shaping up to be one of the most far-reaching internal revenue scandals in recent years. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
President Irfan Ali has outlined an ambitious 5-year developmental plan announcing major economic, social, and infrastructural initiatives aimed at improving the lives of all Guyanese. Find out more from Tiana Cole.
In a national address on Wednesday evening, President Irfan Ali said the 5-year plan is designed to strengthen Guyana's long-term economic stability by reducing dependence on oil revenues and broadening opportunities across traditional and emerging sectors. He noted that strategic investments in infrastructure, human capital, and private enterprise will form the foundation for sustainable growth and shared prosperity.
We will continue to diversify our economy, modernize our infrastructure, expand business opportunity, create jobs, educate and train people, raise incomes, cut cost of living, fight poverty, restore faith in public service, and defend our sovereignty. Together, we will build a Guyana that rises, not for a few, but for all.
One of the most anticipated announcements was a cash grant for citizens. The head of state revealed that Budget 2026, to be presented early in the new year, will provide a $100,000 cash grant to every Guyanese aged 18 and older. He also announced increases in social support, with a non-contributory old age pension rising to $60,000 per month and a public assistance grant increasing to $40,000 per month. To support small and medium-sized businesses, the government will introduce new financing options. Corporate taxes will also be removed on income earned by companies providing childcare services and elderly care facilities.
Small business owners will have access up to $3 million Guyana dollars with no collateral at zero interest.
In the education sector, the president announced that special educational needs and disabilities (SEND) facilities will be established in every region. Parents of children with special needs will play an active role in the management and oversight of these satellite schools.
We'll maintain free education at all levels. We'll continue the GOLD program with unlimited number of scholarships available to all eligible Guyanese. We'll continue to modernize school infrastructure and technical and vocational training. We'll allocate more resources to encourage STEM subjects.
Housing and community development are also key pillars of the 5-year plan. President Ali said the housing application backlog has been fully cleared in all regions except Region 4, where demands remain high. Over the next 5 years, the government will continue investing in sustainable communities that are safe, clean, and well-serviced, with proper drainage, adequate street lighting, and reduced noise pollution.
Guyanese will be able to enjoy the basic rights of affordable housing, clean water, proper drainage, and a clean and healthy environment.
Tiana Ko reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, the nation's wealth should not be a reward for obedience, so says leader of the We Invest in Nationhood political party, Azzedine Mohammed, as he tore into the People's Progressive Party civic government over cash grant expectations for citizens. Mohammed's pronouncements came after President Ali told an eagerly anticipated nation that they will have to wait until 2026 budget. President Irfan Ali has confirmed that Guyanese will not receive any additional cash transfers this year, announcing instead that a $100,000 cash grant for adults aged 18 and older will be provided in the national budget for 2026. The president said the measure will form part of a package of initiatives to be rolled out early in January, effectively ending weeks of public speculation that a cash grant would be issued before Christmas. Leader of the We Invest in Nationhood party, Azzedine Mohammed, responded sharply to the president's announcement, accusing President Ali of misleading the nation and reneging on what he described as an implied promise of a Christmas cash grant.
Now, after the election, the language has changed. You want to give the nation a meager $100,000 with all the monies generated from oil. The cash grant was a campaign tool, not a guaranteed obligation.
In a fiery Facebook address last night, Mohammed said public frustration has reached a boiling point. He also took aim at the tone of the address, dismissing it as lengthy and lacking substance. He contrasted the president's campaign trail rhetoric with the post-election messaging, playing clips of President Ali repeatedly promising that Guyanese would have a beautiful Christmas.
But they have drained the coffers. Of the $57.5 billion supplementary budget they took in May, they spent it all on the elections. So now you're forced to wait until the next budget. I will have the PPP know that public funds are not rewards for obedience.
The WIN leader said many citizens had already made plans in anticipation of a year-end payout and expressed concern for public servants and working-class families who were counting on financial relief.
Guyanese are upset. They're upset because promises were made, expectations were set, and those promises were broken. Many had plans for the cash grant. I feel for public servants, especially those on minimum wage, and our men and women in uniform, having to make the season festive without any additions.
Mohammed concluded that the latest announcement reinforces what he calls a pattern of broken promises, warning that public trust is being steadily eroded as expectations raised during the elections campaign season have significantly waned. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
And finally, Antonio Day now tells us that Shadow Minister of Natural Resources Sharma Solomon has criticized the People's Progressive Party Civic for failing to acknowledge the hardships of citizens, particularly during the festive season, in the wake of high inflation.
Sharma Solomon, Shadow Minister of Natural Resources, says that Guyana is oil rich, but the government's broken promises have left citizens financially strained. In a statement, the Partnership for National Unity Member of Parliament said, and I quote, "By 2025, Guyana's oil revenues surpassed $3.2 billion, with production exceeding 900,000 barrels per day, approaching 1 million barrels per day. 4 FPSOs are operating in the Sabro block, establishing Guyana as a key player in global oil production." The APNU Member of Parliament stated that these figures come directly from the government, as reiterated by the President and Minister of Finance recently. Continuing, however, for ordinary Guyanese, especially public servants, this oil boom and impressive numbers might as well be about another country rather than our own, Solomon posited. He noted that there have been no salary increases, cash grants, or relief from rising living costs. While wealth at the top grows, problems persist at the bottom. The People's Progressive Party Civic cannot blame others or claim poverty. Solomon highlighted that the Ministry of Finance's mid-year report shows increased revenues from higher production, with oil profits up and royalties exceeding $340 million. The MP cited that withdrawals from the Natural Resource Fund have topped $2.5 billion. Recently, Dr. Terence Campbell, Parliamentary lead of the Partnership for National Unity opined that Ghana's oil economy have become heavily dependent, leaving the nations vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices and hindering the development of a more diverse economic landscape.
There is no comprehensive approach to economic development or development planning that aims to diversify our economy and prepare us for a post-oil economy.
He also chided the government for failing to address the economic plight of civil servants.
I do not believe that this government has the interests of its people at heart. And we've seen that not only in the failure to pay a public sector bonus, but also the failure to pay the cash grant as promised before Christmas.
Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
And indeed, Travis, what a year it has been.
It has.
For you, I can tell because, look at your smile on your face.
I know what you're coming with.
And of course, we cannot end the year in review without not acknowledging further your awards. This year, you received the Harbor Journalism Award. And of course, we all know how much of a hard worker you are right here at Nightly News.
Thank you.
We continue to work to bring the right news.
Right. Balanced
right,
news.
As I said, balance.
Yes, it was greatly appreciated. And I did mention that it is important to recognize the hard work of journalists, especially in Guyana, given that we live in operate in such a polarized environment. So I'm greatly appreciated for that.
And of course, you'll continue to work hard and bring balance and accurate news.
And investigative pieces.
Of course, you're an investigative journalist.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, and that has brought us to the end of this year's Year in Review. Thank you for your commitment, as we sincerely appreciate that.
From all of us here at HGP Nightly News, we say happy holidays. Goodbye.
Happy holidays. Goodbye.